We've disconnected.
Yeah, I don't
Is that
want to
okay?
say it was awkward, but I think very friendly, but sort of just usually trying to convince me, leaders can have fights. So I have had some nothing is wrong. I think sadly most Americans don't have much, or at least don't have a strong majority. To me, the one is attacked. They're defending their country. There's agreements with Russia. They had shaken hands. They treaties given up. I don't know. I'm not a person or a historian, but that's my understanding. Ukraine's fighting for freedom, fighting for diplomacy. I think there are arguments like
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to wait until we have a few more friends that are joining us. Meanwhile, if you be kind, I'll ask you to make sure that you put your phones on silent mode so we don't interrupt our very special guest here. My name is Hassam Rahimian, and I'm an Iranian American that lived here for 37 years. I started a foundation called Iran Liberty Foundation, and sole purpose is to bring awareness to Iranians that live in Iran that are silenced by the Islamic regime. Having said that, I always have a soft spot for what's right and what's just. And tonight certainly is that. We're bringing Iranians and Ukrainians together. And this is pretty great. Two different part of the world. But here's the one reality that makes us very similar. We're all suffering because of unjust, unfair, and animalistic ways that the regimes in Russia and in the Islamic regime have dealt with us. Before we start, I want to take a minute and introduce a special friend. He was kind enough to accept tonight and greet us and welcome us to town. He is the one person that when I think of justice, liberty, and freedom, and fighting for it, he comes to my mind, and that's the mayor of town of Fountain Hills, Gary Fairfield.
Thank you for the kind words. On behalf of the town of Fountain Hills, I would like to welcome everyone here tonight.
you can see there's a lot of support for your panel. We have war heroes up here, people who have been through immeasurable times. I can't begin to even think about walking in your shoes. So thank you for what you did, and thank you for your service. The town of Fountain Hills fully supports both Iran and Ukraine in their missions to end these wars, get peace and prosperity so that you can move on. So again, the citizens of Fountain Hills are 100% behind you. We hope you have a great panel discussion tonight. I wish I could stay for it, but I have a council meeting going on right now in the building right next door to us, so I have to run to that meeting and finish up my town business there. But again, on behalf of this town of Fountain Hills, we welcome you and we fully support your efforts. Thank you again.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Tonight's panel brings together voices from Ukraine and Iran, two nations with different histories, languages, and cultures, yet connected by a shared reality. From the front lines of Ukraine to the streets of Tehran, people have faced repression, violence, and the denial of basic freedoms. And while these struggles are rooted in their own context, they are not isolated. A common thread runs through them: the influence and actions of Russia. Whether through direct military attacks like the Russian invasion of Ukraine or by the backing governments that rely on repression to stay in power, Russia has played a major role in shaping the realities people are fighting against. And for Iranians, that connection is deeply personal. Russia has been a key factor in helping the Islamic Republic maintain its power through political backing, military cooperation, and shared interests that reinforce a system many are risking their lives to challenge. But this isn't just about recognizing a shared enemy. It is about resilience, solidarity, and the courage of individuals, veterans, activists, and everyday people who continue to speak out and stand up for freedom despite the cost. Tonight is a chance to listen, learn, and to understand how these struggles intersect, but most of all, why that connection matters. On tonight's panel, we have Farzan Rahimian, founder of Iran Liberty Foundation, who will be moderating tonight's discussion. We also have a co-moderator, Ola, who will assist with translation for our panelists when needed. We will conclude tonight's event with closing remarks from our Ukrainian partners. Tonight, we are honored to be joined by 3 Ukrainian veterans, who I will introduce one by one. We have Mykola Melnik, which is a Ukrainian military officer, legal expert, and civic leader. He has served on the front lines since 2014. Following Russia's 2022 invasion, he became a senior lieutenant and company commander in the 47th Brigade. He was wounded during the 2023 Southern counteroffensive. Before returning to the military, he worked in Ukraine's parliament and founded the Brave Children of Ukraine charity. He holds a law degree from Odessa National Academy of Law and is pursuing a PhD in Kyiv, focused on governance and recovery. Denis Haida is a Ukrainian soldier, veteran, and community leader who has defended Ukraine since 2014. Born in Brest, Belarus, and raised in the Lviv region, he served in the Ukrainian Volunteer Corps from 2014 to 2018 and rejoined the armed forces in 2022, remaining on the front lines until May of 2024. He is the co-founder of the Brave Children of Ukraine charity and supports veterans through the Kodoriska organization for ATO veterans. He is currently studying transport systems to contribute to Ukraine's future reconstruction. Ola Bonchinsky is a Ukrainian soldier, veteran, and community leader who has served since 2014, beginning with the Ukrainian Volunteer Corps and later continuing in the armed forces of Ukraine after the full-scale invasion. He was wounded in 2014, losing an eye, but remained in service as a senior soldier operator through 2025. He is the co-founder of Kodoriv organization for support of ATO veterans and is active in supporting veterans in Ukraine's recovery efforts. Tonight, we are also joined by two Iranian activists. First, we have Farzan Faramarzi, an Iranian-American activist focused on raising awareness about the human rights situation in Iran and amplifying the voices of Iranians who seek freedom and democratic change. He works to highlight the aspirations of Iranians for a free and democratic Iran. Next, we have Donia Ziraksari, who is an award-winning human rights activist, published author, and founder of Equal Human Rights Organization. She is also a senior technical program manager at Microsoft, leading large-scale data center projects across the United States, while continuing her advocacy work and supporting cross-community solidarity, including prior involvement with the Houston Ukrainian community. Translation will be available and provided throughout the panel if needed, and there will be a Q&A session at the end for any questions. And last but not least, I would like to personally, and on behalf of the Iranian community, thank Irene and her team for reaching out to Farzan and our community to make this event possible. Thank you all for being here, and please welcome again Hassam Rahimian.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. As Kimi brought up, we're going to have a dialogue with the panel, but afterwards, if you have questions, feel free to let us know. Write it down so you don't forget. And one more time, please make sure that your phones are on mute position. Thank you. Dennis, I'm going to ask you first, and it may be a difficult question with what you've gone through. I want to know, what is your personal experience and understanding on how your country got to be here today?
Got to be here today? На твою думку, з твого досвіду, як ця Україна опинилася там, де вона зараз є? Що до цього привело?
Вітаю, дякую за запрошення, дякую, що всі прийшли.
Hello everybody, thank you for the invitation and warm welcome.
Відповідь на запитання буде дуже проста і коротка. Поганий сусід.
My answer would be short but wide, fulfilling. We happen to have a really, really, really bad neighbor.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Farzan, I'm going to ask you the same question. You were born in Iran, your family is from Iran, and now you're here. How did we get here?
Okay, so I don't have a short and funny answer, so I don't know how I can top Dennis. But let me start with this first. I always say this at the beginning of any time I Islamic Republic is the occupying forces. Islamic Republic has nothing to do with Iranians or Iran. So I just want to establish a baseline here. I was born in Iran, but I'm American by choice. So I came here because I didn't have equal rights in Iran. So why we are here, why we are here with the government and everything's happening in Iran, I think for the most part, it's a battle of identity. Something similar in Ukraine and Russia that we are seeing today. Iranians have a totally different identity from the government that they are ruling with. So this caused friction throughout these 47 years of Islamic Republic, actually since the beginning. People of Iran started pushing back to this Islamic regime since the inception of the Islamic regime, and this has continued throughout these 47 years. Right now we have the Lion and Sun revolution, that's what we call it. 3 years ago, after they killed a young woman because of not properly wearing hijab, Mahsa Amini, we had the Mahsa Amini movement. Before that, we had the student movements, worker movements. So throughout these 47 years, people of Iran never rested pushing back to Islamic Republic and its barbaric ideology. So that's why we are here today.
Thank you, Farzan. Ola.
Sure.
Similar question on yours, although I'm going to peel the onion. I'd love to have your background and what took you to the front lines.
Я Олег Лучинський, я з чарівного міста Ходорів, що на Львівщині.
My name is Oleg Bachinsky, and I'm from the western Ukraine, a small town, Khodoriv, that is next to Lviv.
На фронт мене привели події, які відбувалися на Майдані на Революції Гідності у 2014 році.
I was brought to the front lines in 2014 as a result, as a direct result of the Maidan, that is the Ukrainian revolution of dignity that happened in 2014 that toppled back pro-Russian government and elected the democratic government again.
І в кожного справжнього українця ніколи не виникне питання йти чи не йти боротись за своє, за свою державу, за свій народ.
Being a patriot that loves my country, I never even had a question or doubt in my soul if I need to go. I just had to go defend my country, my people, my language.
Thank you. Donia, I think it's fair to say that both nations are dealing with difficult, challenging situation with, in our part, with the Islamic regime, and in Russia is for the Ukrainian people. Are there similarities, in your opinion, that connect these two relationships together, and how these crimes against humanity continues to stay in power?
Are there similarities between what's happening in Ukraine and Iran? Well, it feels like both nations are kind of in a survival mode at this point, and they're kept in that survival mode for a very long time. And in Iran's situation, the survival mode is psychological and physical. I feel like same thing is happening in Ukraine as well. Iranians have been deprived of the right to practice their own religion. I'm a religious minority. Religious minorities, for example, can't attend a university, they can't get a higher education, they can't have a legal job. That messes with you for the rest of your life. You feel like you were born in a country that you're not wanted. in. So, that's it's a very interesting concept when you sit down and talk to a religious minority, that has escaped Iran. I have friends that I befriended them after they came to US, that they had to flee Ukraine by car and drive all the way to Spain and think about where they're going to sleep that night, where they're going to eat, what's going to happen to their kids. So I feel like the similarity of that between what happened in Ukraine and how people fled is exactly how people fled Iran, on the back of donkeys, all the way to Pakistan, or they escaped from the border, fleeing Iran and risking getting shot at by the border patrol, and going to cities like Van in Turkey and seek refuge and go through the vetting process for sure before they come to US. So there's a lot of similarities, and I feel like I want to mention one thing before I end this. I feel like what Russia and Islamic Republic do to Ukrainians and Iran is keeping them on their toes for their basic needs like food and just day-to-day things, so they do not even think about something bigger, which is freedom. Freedom to people in Russia, in Ukraine, and Iran is luxury at this point. Knowing how they're going to get their next meal is a lot more important than freedom that we are experiencing in the United States.
Thank you. Friends, by the way, I forgot to say one of the housekeeping rules. The moderator get a chance to have a follow-up question. So Doria, you mentioned you have a religious minority, that's why you escaped. What is that religion?
Baha'i faith. Yeah, I was born in a family that practiced Baha'i faith as well as Islam, and I chose to be a Baha'i by searching both religions and exploring and figuring out. One of my brothers became Christian. He was baptized in Iran, and they actually he passed away in 2024. But while we were in Iran, they actually threatened him to kill him because he's considered an apostate if he was born in a Muslim Baha'i family and then became Christian. So religion is not your choice. It's a genetic thing that Islamic Republic says if you were born in such and such family, you are that religion, and they can refuse to even give you a passport.
Thank you. Nicola,
Yep.
what does your day look like in your role right now?
Right now, like 10 years ago and 12 years ago, I only soldier of my nation. But before the injury, I was assault infantry. After injury, I was a commander of crude oil interceptor, and I protect my city and destroyed Russian. In Ukraine, we call Iranian Shaheds, but it's Russian DPA. And now I'm soldier of my nation, but my front line is information, and my front line is the fight against misinterpretation. That's all.
Misinterpretation.
Yes.
Tell me about that. What is that is being misinterpreted?
Now we have now Russian propaganda, unfortunately, have a big power in the USA. It's propaganda like, oh, Ukraine is so small, oh, Ukraine is so tired, oh, you don't win this war. And I said, no, we can win with your support. Because now we have not a separate war, a separate Ukrainian war or separate war against USA and Islamic Republic. No, we have the one war, freedom against dictator. That's why together we can win.
Thank you. Thank you. Farzan, what motivates you to stay engaged in what's happening in Iran? After all, you have a family, you have a kid, new home, work responsibility. and the reality is you're living here in the United States. What does motivate you to get up and put in that extra time and effort to do what you do as an activist?
I think when you asked the first question, I mentioned I'm American by choice. So that could be, a reason that I'm doing what I do. How many of you can go on without cell phone or internet? How many days or minutes do you think you can be away from your cell phone or internet? We rely so much on internet for work, for communication. How many of you can think of not talking to your parents or your kids for days and months? How many of you can tolerate that? So Iranian people, the regime cut the internet for 60 days. This is the longest internet blackout in the history of internet. And usually when they do that because they are massacring people, they are killing people. They don't want any images, any footage to go out. We know that they killed more than 40,000 people in 1 week. We know that they're executing young people as young as 21-year-old. So what motivates me? How can I live in freedom in a country, in a great country like USA, and have the opportunity to spread the word, to talk about them, to be their voice, and sit at my home and watch TV? I cannot do that. I cannot really do that. So that's what motivates me to get up every day, talk about them, write about them, post about them, do these things, like these panels. I think this is really helpful in spreading the word. Like any of you that are here, I hope you take away this with you at home and you talk to your friends and spread the word and be the voice of the voiceless.
Thank you. Dennis, in your perspective, what's the biggest tactical challenges that right now Ukraine is facing on the front line?
Яка зараз є тактичне випробування перед українською армією?
Тут все просто, насамперед потрібно вижити, а в подальшому розвиток технологій допомагає нам зберігати особовий склад.
The two main points is the survival of the troops and infantry on the front line, of all the troops. And the second point is that in order for us to achieve that and save our troops, we need to continue developing technologies that will be impacting the effectiveness of the combat on the front lines.
Тому що на даний час технології розвиваються з такою швидкістю, що ти не можеш спрогнозувати, що буде за кілька місяців. Тому що придумають новий дрон, придумають нову технологію, і тобто це треба постійне навчання, постійне вдосконалення свого війська і збереження життів. Це саме основне, що зараз яка є задача.
З тактичної точки зору, thank you.
You really got me worried in 1 second.
From the tactical viewpoint, it is very important. The knowledge that you have acquired in the past is not enough to be successful and effective in future combat, because the strategies and the approaches and tactics are changing so rapidly within several months. So what you have known 6 months ago is irrelevant anymore, because unfortunately the enemy is adjusting as well. The continuous learning, the continuous feedback from the front line to the back line, to the back, and the upgrading your technology and adjusting your technology and tactics that supports the technology is essential right now to progress and to save our lives and our soldiers.
Thank you. Tonya. In your opinion, people that are in this room for Ukraine and Iran, what can they do that will actually make a difference? We're not talking symbolically. I did change my Facebook profile picture and has the Iran flag. I doubt if that's going to do a regime change.
It doesn't do a regime change, but it does get people's attention. My profile pictures at work and on my WhatsApp is all changed, and I see a lot of people ask about it. So it is very important to continue doing the symbolic work that we're doing, but also, in my opinion, the most effective thing is to get out there and vote. How many of y'all know that you're registered to vote? Okay. How many don't know? I need to check. Some of you might have no doubt, okay? But I actually the other day checked to make sure I am registered to vote. As a matter of fact, with some Iranians around the country, we started a pact called We Are Cyrus. And we keep asking, are you Cyrus? And we are trying to register people to vote. So if you are Iranian or non-Iranian, it doesn't matter. If you go to wearecyrus.com and put your information in there, we'll help you register and go vote. Primary midterm elections are very important. And I feel like we just wait for the 4-year election for the president every time. And that's just not enough. How many 4 years can we vote, right? And then how many, I know so many people that don't even vote for that, right? But the midterms are very important. The primaries are very important. Those are the times that we need to get out there and vote. And then registering to vote, doing your work to know who you're going to vote for. They have panels. I've been to them in Houston. So many panels. I didn't know who I was going to go vote for. I went to 6 panels, and the day that I went to vote, I didn't know who I was going to select to be the mayor. I still didn't know. And I'm the person that did the work and went to all the panels. So I encourage everyone to register to vote. Go see who are the people that are going to be representing you, not just politically, but they're the people that are going to be directly touching the money that you pay that goes into their pocket and they're going to be spending it. And then get engaged with them, introduce yourself, talk to them, and then start from your own community and then go all the way up there. Because people that we select are going to be making the decisions for Ukraine, for Iran, and everywhere else. Frankly, anything that happens in Ukraine and Iran indirectly affects us here in the United States.
Follow-up question. How? You mentioned what happens in Iran and Ukraine indirectly affects us.
So I've been saying that for a long time, and I can prove it because a lot of the things that happens in Iran is not just done to the people of Iran, right? They're done to the neighbors as well. We know that Islamic Republic is supporting a lot of other terrorist organizations and other countries in Middle East, right, and their agenda. So they affect your gas prices, which I see a lot of us Americans are very upset about the gas prices, right? $4 some change is not, that's not what we want to put on our F-150, okay? So what I'm trying to make a point is that things that, sure, Afghanistan and Iran, whatever happens to those people, you might not empathize as much, but you can empathize with how much you're going to pay for bananas tomorrow, okay? So I'm just saying, if you want to protect what you have in the United States, we also need to protect the rest of the world. Because what happens to the human beings on that side of the world will affect us. And until we wake up and realize that and actually start saying it to each other, I don't think we're going to succeed as a human race, in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. Ola, talk about the technology and how it is affecting the front line. I'm talking about drones, surveillance, and whatnot. Talk about that.
Дивіться, в 2014 році українські воїни не мали практично нічого. Це ні тактичних окулярів, ні тактичних касок.
When I started this war in 2014, Ukrainian soldiers had almost nothing. neither from tactical gear, neither from tactical protective gear, like the glasses. Like sometimes they would not even have the they definitely did not have vests, bulletproof vests, and sometimes they would not even have helmets.
І я приклад цьому, тому що я залишився без правого ока, і можна розгледіти в мене шрам на голові.
I am actually a living example of that because in 2014 I was wounded because I did not have a protective eye gear and I was shot by shrapnel in the eye and I lost as a result of that just because of lack of protection.
Зараз дрони і різні технології використовуються у всіх напрямках. Це як і розвідка, як і коригування, як і евакуація, так і доставка медикаментів і води для поранених.
Since then, the war has progressed and Ukrainian defense and offensive became so developed that now we have not only drones but multiple kinds of drones. Drones from the attacking drones, protecting drones, surveillance drones, reconnaissance drones, and from aerial drones, land drones, demining drones. All of that exists right now. It's a very, very long uphill from 2014. We did not have even rifles. Sometimes we had 1 for 2, and now we are fighting this war with the drones.
Тому розвиток технології дають нам змогу зберігати людське життя.
The development of drone technology specifically helps us to save and protect lives on the front and on the back as well.
Ola, I'm going to bring something up that you said, which is bothersome, and for me it's unheard, and I don't know if you all followed what he said. I want to make sure that I understand you. You and your team fighting in the front line, representing your country, didn't have helmet or bulletproof vest, or at times even a rifle, and you were sharing a rifle?
Дивіться, я був добровольцем, а не військовим.
Look, in 2014, I went as the volunteer corps on the front lines. I was not part of the regular military and regular army.
І тому ми не те, що не мали бронежилетів, касок і всього решта, нам приходилось навіть здобувати зброю в боях.
Actually, we did not have, as I said, we did not have all this protective gear, and sometimes we actually had to fetch the weapons from the fallen enemy in order for us to get the weapons.
Але велика праця волонтерів дала нам практично все, чого ми потребували. Тому за це їм велике дякую. За всім волонтерам, які допомагають виборювати свободу свого народу.
And all these years, and especially back then and now as well, we are alive and we survived because of the volunteers. Because volunteers would provide everything that what we need. Thanks to them, Ukraine still stands and fights.
А на запитання, чи було страшно йти у бій без нічого, ми йшли за своє.
And whether if we were scared fighting, going into the battle without being severely under-equipped, no, it was not scary because we were fighting and defending what belongs to us.
Thank you. I'm going to make a comment because in your response, you said I wasn't part of the army, I was a volunteer. And let me just tell you, this is personally from me to you, what you have done and the choices that you made is much greater than any army and any individual that was part of the organization. To volunteer yourself and your life to stand for your country and for your nation, regardless of being part of an organization or not. That's unbelievable, and thank you for what you did. Thank you. Farzan. Easy question for you. How do you think that Iranians that live outside Iran, diaspora, has, during these times, especially the last 5 years, have failed that effort to raise awareness and to bring a change to what's going on in Iran?
So during the past, even when you go back before 5 years, we talk about the past 5 years. I mentioned that 3 years ago. We have Mahsa Amini movement, but even way before that, we always had, Iranian diaspora talking and fighting the Islamic Republic. We have, the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. He is the son of Iran's former Shah, and he's residing in the U.S. and he's always been, raising awareness. We have other groups that work with him as well and try to raise awareness. But I believe, and we can see it actually today, right now, U.S. and Israel, they have this operation going on, and they keep asking. You probably heard that President Trump asked UK or Germany for help. Maybe using their bases in the Middle East or other countries, and they refused. So this is the crux of the matter and the problem that the Europeans, they get used to free oil and cheap oil from Iran, and they don't want to see this government gone, and frankly, they don't like a democratic free Iran. That's why even right now they are resisting to help the U.S. operation to free Iranian people. And this is just pains me to say that, but the United Nations as well, I want to just include them in those categories, that every time something happening in Iran, they hang a 21-year-old, 18-year-old, and they're like, oh, we condemn this violence. Okay, that's the most you can do, to condemn the violence, not helping the Iranian people. And then they assign the Islamic Republic at Women's Rights Council at the United Nations. They recently assigned the Iranian government for a nuclear workshop or something. And this is just like a joke. I feel like they were toying and playing with the Iranian people for the past 40 years. But the Iranian people have waken up. And they are not coming back, and they want their country back. They want regime change. They're not looking for a moderate regime. They don't want to deal with any of these, that have part in this government. They don't want to deal with the IRGC. That's a terrorist organization. They have, announced who they trust and who they want them to lead to democracy and freedom. And I think the US and Israel are listening to Iranian people, and it's time for the European nations to get in line and help the Iranian people achieve democracy. And once the Iranian people achieve democracy, that's actually benefiting the whole Middle East. They might not get the free oil as they used to, but they're going to get the fair share of the security in their own countries as well. I think Dunya was mentioning that the Islamic Republic is funding all the proxy terror groups across the Middle East. We have a few groups in Iraq. We have, Yemenis, the Houthis in Yemen. And they're all attacking, not just the U.S. soldiers, but the U.S. They recently killed the French soldiers. And the French government is just, hey, yeah, we condemn this violence. So this is like becoming a joke in the Iranian community. And I think that's the matter, is that the people, the government, especially the Europeans, and in the past, the US government too, we had an opportunity, a great opportunity during the Obama administration, when Obama was talking to the government of Iran regarding the nuclear deal. And at the time, people were on the street, and we actually, it was one of the slogans on the street. I'm going to say it in Farsi and then translate it in English. The people on the street were chanting, Obama, Obama, Yaba, Una, Yabama. Obama, Obama, either with them or with us. So they're chanting and begging for help. But what Obama did, sending an airplane full of cash to the Islamic Republic, really hurt the people of Iran and guaranteed this regime to stay. I know for some of you that sounds like a conspiracy theory. I highly encourage you to go home and Google that. Obama sending an airplane of cash to the Iranian government. It was all over the news, CNN, Fox News, from both spectrum of the news, right and left, reported on this one. So that really hurt the Iranian people and the movement of the Iranian people and really boosted the Islamic government. And let me say that these monies that they received, not even one dime of it went to the pocket of the Iranian people. They all went and spent on all these nuclear programs and missile programs and drone programs. As you know, the Iranians are selling those Shahed drones to Russia, and Russia used them in Ukraine against Ukrainians. So all the money that they received during these years, they spent on military, as opposed to spend on infrastructure, spend on people, education, healthcare, none of that. None of that. So that's why when we see, oh yeah, US is releasing this many dollars, Iranians here are pushing back and say, no, don't do that. Because if you do that, you're just empowering terror groups across Middle East.
Thank you. As you were talking, I couldn't help but to see a comparison with what took place with Hitler when he started the war. As most of you know, Europe did what it was called appeasement. And their thinking was, we're going to be able to work with it and we'll just talk to them and we'll do our best to fix this situation. And as you all know, it took many years, and the act of United States getting involved and taking actions into their hand and other nations at that point joining and making that change sounds like it's the same thing that the Islamic Republic has done in the 47 years that I recall, and hopefully this time will be a change.
I hope so.
Thank you. Mikola. What keeps you going during the most difficult moments and to continue to do what you do with your brothers here?
I'm Ukrainian.
I'm starting to figure this out. That the Ukrainians are really sharp and they know exactly how to answer me with one question and they get the pause.
Okay. I think like in Iranian, for our is very important the grace of our ancestors, the memory of our fallen brothers who fallen on the battlefield or falling against regime. And for our important the future of our children. And that's why we have no right to stop. We haven't tried to stop our fight against Russia against our enemy and for freedom. And every time after wounded, I have only one dream. Maybe not Iran, but I won't come back to the war. I want to protect my nation because this is our fate. And then I stay the commander of crew, drone interceptors crew. Okay, my dream stay part of my life. That's why. Maybe that's all.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Donya.
Every time you say Donya, I feel like I'm in trouble. He sounds like my teacher, Donya.
Freedom. What does that look like to you?
I wish I could say we're free. 100% in the United States, I still don't feel 100% free because that's another book to write and you all to be forced to read. Freedom in Iran, I would say, is going back to what Iran used to be. When you were talking, Farzan, I couldn't help but remember the fact that Iran was a country that exported poetry from Rumi, and Ferdowsi and all these amazing poets. Iran was a country that exported good to the world. There's saffron, there's pistachios, there are beautiful rugs. That's the country that I want back. And I want that country not just for me. I have no desire to go back and live back in Iran. I'm an American by choice and I like to live here and give back to this community, but I want Iran for the next generation because it's so sad to know that the next generation growing up anywhere in the world would not know Iran as I know it, right? And I'm not 47, by the way. But 47 years ago, Iran was a country so modern, so beautiful that exported all these goods. Then came, in 1979, a man named Khomeini, and he said, I am going to export the ideology of Islamic Republic. So, thinking about that, I want a country, I don't want just freedom for Iran, but just focusing on Iran, I want a country that is going to go back to exporting good to the world, give good to the world. And for y'all to be able to go and visit Iran. It's beautiful nature, all the ancient history that we have, and have some Persian food, right? Right in Iran, wouldn't that be amazing? We have had brain drain in Iran. Everyone that is smart, intelligent, and athletic has left Iran. And it's going to take so much to rebuild that country, just like it's going to take so much to rebuild Ukraine. And we all have a part in it. Again, through voting, through doing symbolic, non-symbolic, whatever it is. We all have, once we stop caring, I feel like that's the end of Ukraine and Iran. You know, I hate the fact that Ukraine at some point became old news. Isn't that sad? That people are still fighting that fight, and thank you so much for your service. And that's just old news, because there is Venezuela, and then there is Iran, and there is a Strait of Hormuz, and I close it, and I open it, and I close it, and I open it, now, oh my God, now strawberries are more expensive, and then the oil. Isn't that just sad that all we care about is just what's next? It's like changing the channel. Those are your lives. Those are your people, those are your culture, and your home. And nobody should be yanked from their home and transplanted to another nation. And we're grateful, but still, I have so many Ukrainian friends that had to be yanked, that had to flee. And their mother stayed behind, and their mother died of pneumonia in a camp. That's just understand, and that's reality. But we watch it all on the TV, and we think it's just a show. So, that's all I can say.
Thank you, Donia. If you may add something. In hearing what you're saying, I cannot stop thinking about Ukraine, about the freedom, and what does it mean, and what it is. Number one, you see, this is the coat of arms. It is engraved. It is originally from 993. That was coat of arms of Vladimir the Great, and it literally spelled in water. That means freedom. That is the concept of Ukraine that has existed. Similar to your country, that you cannot speak your language, you cannot believe in what you believe, and have your religions and multitude of religions. That is what Ukraine had to do in many, many years. Have you ever known that Ukraine is an ancient country that came, some of the culture came 10,000 years ago? And since then it developed into independent, one of the biggest countries, European nations, before it has been absorbed by Muscovy Tsariyat, that is the kingdom, and then they even stole the name Russia. Russia is coming from Kiev, Rus, initially Ukrainian nation. They stole that from us. They took away our language. You cannot speak Farsi anymore. You have to speak what? You have to speak Arabic. They took our language. We have to speak Russian. I was born in Ukraine, in the Soviet Union. I did not speak Ukrainian until I moved in here and I learned it. We do not have that. We have been denied our culture, but you're denied your culture. Every single day, Russia forces and focuses and bombs our churches. And then they claim that Ukraine prohibits the freedom of religion because they prohibited Russian religion because it is KGB agents. If you ask the guys, Denis, what religion are you? Яке віросповідання в тебе? Давай, мені кажи. And what is it? Orthodox. Ти Orthodox, так?
Ні, це просто проводили.
No, це я питаю.
Моя ігра така рідна.
Here's a Greek Catholic. Mikola, what religion are you?
Orthodox.
You're Orthodox, but also you're Lutheran, if I'm not mistaken, right?
My part of my parents
Yes.
is Lutherans. I'm Orthodox.
My point is, there are a multitude of the religions that have been denied because of Russian Empire. Thank you, sorry for interrupting and derailing it.
Thank you. It brings me to the point that honestly, I wish there will be a day that borders, colors, religions, nationalities, money, all that takes a back seat. And humanity and human rights and freedom becomes what we use as our make and our markers for our life. Thank you. Farzan. What's the difficult part of what people like yourself, Iranians that are being activists, are facing in order to raise awareness? As most of this room knows, Iran now is with no internet for 65 plus days. So imagine if you don't have your internet for 3 hours, what are you gonna do? Imagine about your banking, your work, medicine, all that. But over 65 days, the Islamic regime has blocked the access to internet. What is it that you see as a tool and what we can do and the challenge for the people outside Iran to be the voice for people that are voiceless?
I want to tell you a funny story. 4 years ago, we had the Phoenix name. So I had the Iranian flag, as you can see, the lion and sun, and that's the real flag of Iran. I have Mahsa Amini's name, and I had like also a beanie which had the flag on it. And when I was running, I passed a group of folks, and they all cheered me up and said, "Go Mexico!" So since then, I think that's the hard part, raising awareness and talking to the people. Like, you know, when people look at this flag, since this is not, I mean, it used to be an official flag during the Shah, but since the revolution, this is not the official flag of Iran. And even the official flag of Iran, I highly doubt that anybody recognizes, especially the younger generation. So they thought I'm Mexican and they cheered me up. So I was like, okay, I take it. But Farzan asked, okay, what should we do? Like, what is the difficulties? What motivates me? Like, what motivates me is the hope that one day this country is free and I can go back and visit. I have a son, and tomorrow will be his 11th month birthday. His name is Alvan, which is a summit in Iran. And my hope is one day I can hike that mountain with him. So that's what motivates me on a human level and encourages me to fight. Also, I have lots of other reasons, like to Donia's point, Iran has lots of good to offer to the world. Unfortunately, most people in the world know my country with the Ayatollahs, which is, I think they are the symbol of Satan itself, and they should be destroyed. But it is hard to raise awareness. It is hard to get up every day. We all have jobs, we all have lives, we all have kids, we all have bills to pay. And on the other hand, you have to stay motivated and on top of the task. Every day, you ask all the Iranians in this room, every morning I wake up and I check my phone, and the first thing I see is that they executed a few people. And then I have to wake up and go to work. And then after work, I have to start either working on a panel like this, or we have weekly protests, or posting online, writing online, engage with the dialogue online to raise awareness so the people know and the people talk about it. We have a Swedish activist who actually visited us a few weeks ago here in Phoenix and joined our rally. And he is traveling across the US and joining all the Iranian protests to raise awareness. So I think this happened because us Iranians across the world came out, and especially since 5 years ago, that kind of intensified, this effort intensified. We came out and we keep talking about Iran. And my ask is, don't stop talking about Iran. Even if it's one Instagram stories. You may think it doesn't work. It definitely works. We have seen it in our community. We have seen it in terms of raising awareness. And the other thing that Donia mentioned is register and vote. This is something that we need. We don't have. I just want to do a comparison. Like, for example, as an Iranian who lived in Iran, who didn't have equal rights because I'm also a religious minority, there is no real election. They tell you there is an election. Yes, on the paper it's a republic, so they have election, but it's a rigged election. It's not really like election we have here. They already know who's gonna be in the office, so it's all a show. So if you are here in the country that you can freely go and register to vote, don't take it for granted. It's something that my people are fighting for, and you already have it. So please use it. This is what makes this country great, in my opinion.
Thank you. Mikola, question for you. What's the strongest case that you could make to, let's say, the lawmakers in the United States? As we all know, there's always a back and forth that if the United States should continue to support what's going on. And my heart goes out to your people, because I can tell you the Iranians have the same challenge. We have that concern as well. And it's really sad that a lot of times the support that is provided to Ukraine is looked at a charity. And we feel the same in Iran. I can make a point of saying that basically it will help with the global security, and will get rid of the largest state sponsor of terrorism. That's why we think United States should continue to support the Iranian people and level the playing field, so hopefully there can be a regime change. I want to hear your thoughts on what case would you make if you were addressing Congress and having them step up their support for Ukraine.
I'm not Ukrainian embassy, and I have only one point. All American government support Ukrainian, Iranians, and other nation in fight against a terrorist country like Russia, like Islamic Republic. Today or tomorrow, you forced to build your great, handsome, and brave soldiers. Unfortunately, it's right. Unfortunately, like I said, we have not a separate war. We have one war in our world. It's a war for freedom against tyranny. That's like Ukrainians and Iranians, I don't know, but I think that our religion is freedom, and we fought for it, and we will fight for it, and we will never surrender. And if we have not a normal weapon, we fought against, we will fight with sticks and stones. And now, like you say, we have a global war, and how quickly the US government understand it, that so fast we can win.
Thank you. It's in support of what you said, because we Iranians have this challenge as well, that half the country is against the support that's taking place. And when I hear that, it does make me upset, and I'll explain to you why, and I'm sure every one of you already know. The reason we are here, every one of us, Iranians, Ukrainians, it's because of what this nation was this country built on. This nation was built on freedom, justice, liberty, and those are the principles that we as a nation fight for. And I cannot see a better situation than what's happening in Ukraine, better situation than what's happening in Iran, and frankly, anywhere else that there is injustice. We're human beings. Before any of these nations, we're all humans. Before nationality, religion, believe it or not, that's a choice. It's humanity. We're human before anything else. And I think that's the one thing that I always like to remind myself, and that's what I like to remind also the policymakers and people that do make the decisions in this country. But thank you for that, I appreciate it. Donya. See, I said it softer this time.
They didn't feel that way. Can I, before you ask me a question, can I just say you all are.
Unbelievable.
Okay? Some people become very bitter, and y'all are not. When I say y'all, that means you all. Okay?
She just moved here, that's okay.
I'm Texas, and I'm not gonna stop saying y'all, but okay, go ahead.
Because we have a great job, we can protect our country, kill Russian, and don't go to the prison.
What gives you hope, despite all the challenges that we face? As you know, there are ups and downs. As you know, for us, the hope of regime change is the only way for this to be an end to what has taken place for 47 years. And there are times that we doubt that that will take place. What gives you that hope?
I've been more hopeful these days than ever, even since 2022, the mass Iranian revolution that happened, the woman life freedom. And I think that what gives me hope is that a lot of people are aware. Gives me hope that the fact that this room is full. This room is much fuller than it would have been 10 years ago. Okay, people start caring, people know, and I feel like a lot of people, we don't even have to distinguish between Islamic Republic and Iranians. People already love Iranians. I've never met anybody that says, I've had an Iranian friend and I didn't like them. You know, maybe they're scared of me. But regardless, they've never said that. Because we love feeding people, we love partying with y'all, we like to celebrate, regardless of your religion, regardless of what you're doing, we want to be a part of it. We are outgoing, positive people, and we have so much to offer, and we love to be a part of other people's cultures. What gives me hope is that my friends, my colleagues, or my friends reach out to me almost every day. One of them did this morning, and they just randomly say, I love what you're doing in Iran, for Iran. And I follow the news and I hope, and sure, thoughts and prayers, I don't know, they're physically not doing a lot, but you know what, it makes us feel really good and it keeps us going. We do have our full-time jobs and it keeps us going, gives us a lot of hope. I would say people have been a lot more educated and hopefully they vote for the right party to support Ukraine and Iran. Again, I keep going back to the voting, so it gives me hope. I think I see the light at the end of the tunnel for sure. This regime has no credibility in the world, and the United Nations can sponsor this regime all day long. But I don't see them being in power for much longer. And hopefully, once the regime in Iran falls, we can also help Ukraine gain its freedom from Russia. Because we do have a lot of intelligent people in Iran, and they do come up with a lot of fascinating things, which gets exported to Russia. So I just think the fact that this room is full and y'all are smiling is a big progress. Gives me hope.
Thank you. I'm going to give you a follow-up question, and it's going to be very difficult. But please keep smiling. She's going to need it. So you brought up voting. What if there's a different party that Iranians vote for because that's what they choose? And what if Ukrainians vote for a different party? What's the fix to help with that situation? Because as you know, that has been a challenge in the United States. You have the left and the right, and recently it has become, honestly, a joke because, in my opinion, all they're doing is just canceling each other. So what is your idea, and I understand you're not a politician, but I want to see what your thoughts are.
I hope I never become a politician. I would make a terrible one. I think when I say go vote, I don't mean vote Republican or Democrat. I just think you should just go ahead and vote. Register to vote and just vote. Vote for the person, not the party. Because there are people that I really like from the Republican side, and there's people that I really adore from the Democrat side, right? There's no perfect party, in my opinion, but I can just say that there are people in the Democratic Party that gave me congressional recognitions for my human rights work that I reached out to in the last 3 months, and they said they're not going to lift a finger for Iranian people, and they want to keep out of that. And then there's a bunch of Republicans that I emailed and asked for support, and they answered me. So I don't know, maybe if it was about Ukraine, they would have answered me, the Democrats would have answered me. I don't know. There is no right or wrong. I feel like at this point we just have to try everything. And we just need to, and I say I'm a terrible politician because I just keep going the avenue of human rights, and I don't care your color, your race, I don't care about any of that. When we believe the same. You feel sadness the same way that I do. You feel hurt when you lose a family member the way I do. A lot of people ask me, is your family and friend, are your family and friend okay? I don't even answer that question. I say, the whole nation is my family. The whole nation are my friends. I don't want to ever pursue anybody to vote one way or the other. I just think we should just go out there and vote, practice our voice and freedom that we have here. We just need to stop being lazy, is what I'm trying to say, you know? And I know a lot of Iranians that are Democrat, and I know a lot of Iranians that are Republican, but in our own household, like nobody even talks about, you know, we just, did you go vote? All right, because I have more respect for somebody that voted against what I voted than somebody that didn't vote at all.
I just want to add one thing. Obviously, I'm in favor of voting, and I encourage you to do that. But ultimately, when it comes to Ukraine or Iran or freedom, this is a bipartisan issue. Regardless of where you stand, this is a bipartisan issue. Human rights knows no party. So again, I don't want this mixed in like the identity politics and things like that. This is for human rights. They are killing, like, talking about my people, talking about Iran. Just imagine that these kids, young kids, athletes, champions, like wrestling champion being executed. So it's just painful. I mean, regardless of who you vote for, this is just bipartisan issue, and we should support the effort of the Iranian people to gain freedom and overthrow this satanic government.
So, I believe I speak on my behalf as a U.S. citizen and as a Ukrainian activist that has been, together with Irene and other Ukrainian activists, raising awareness about what is happening in Ukraine. For you, as U.S. citizens, you have to understand that this is not a charity. We have human rights violations in Iran. Russia has abducted 20,000 children from Ukrainian territories. Those children of a fighting age now are fighting these guys on the other side, not because they want, but because they have no other choice. But the point is, for you as U.S. citizens, you have to realize and understand that it is not a charity case, it's not a donation, and it's not apolitical. It should be a political issue for both supporting Ukraine and Iranian people in their fight. Why? Because Russia was at the bottom when the government, Shah government was stopped, and Iranian Republic, I apologize if I'm misspelling it, was taken into place. They were behind that. Since then, they taught and improved the way Iranian people people are being oppressed. Now coming back to Ukraine. First, in 2022, 2023, Russia started using Iranian-produced Shahid drones, and the world closed their eyes and shrugged their shoulders. Now, fast forward 2026, Iranian drones, improved and modified and produced in Russia, are flying back through Caspian Sea back into Iran. And these drones are being shot at our allies, Arab Emirates and all Qatar and all the countries, Israel. And now our American soldiers are being killed on the bases. And at the same time, they are robbing our economy. Why do they rob our economy? Because we are shooting them down with $3 million Patriots for the time to shoot down $30,000 Shahid drones. Wow, that is important. That is the long-term strategy that Iran and Russia has adopted. And we need to fight it. And where is the Ukraine place other than Ukraine is fighting an unjust war? The Ukraine's place is that it is the only nation that stood up to Goliath and has the technology, expertise, and experience in fighting this war. This is not a charity case. America should be the first one jumping in and asking, hey, we will invest, work with us, we want your investment, we want your expertise, because it makes all of us stronger against China, against Russia, against Iran and North Korea. It is investment. This is not a charity case.
I was going to point out to what Ola said earlier, talking about technology, that if y'all had technology at the front line, it would have made a huge difference, right? I mean, technology is evolving and so on. Just because we are farther by proximity from Iran or Russia doesn't, well, Russia is actually much closer to us than we think, because the map, if you go around, is right next to Alaska. But we think Iran is very far from us and it can't reach us. But I'm going to put my engineer hat on. It can reach us within seconds. They can destroy our economy, our lives, everyday lives, by infiltrating our technology that we have in Iran, in US. We may not hear about it every day, but Islamic Republic tries to infiltrate and hack our systems here. So it's not just by the drones, but also using technology. I go to a lot of conferences, data center conferences I built in, and I go there and I'm on a panel and I'm listening to the security people that go up there, and they talk about the attacks that they have to plan for. So don't be upset if you cannot retrieve your dog's picture from 2020, just because you're wrong, because it will get under your skin. I'm telling you. We might be far physically, but the technology are seconds away.
I'm going to ask a question from the crowd before I go back to the panel. Raise your hand. I want to see how many questions are we going to have for the panel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we're going to have 2 more on panel and then we go to questions. Mikola. Everyone in here is going home tonight. What would you ask them to do if there's one thing, a meaningful thing that will make a difference for Ukraine? What would that be? It is an open book.
Now Ukrainian soldiers, it's a fight like lions in the front line, and I think we're should support entire democratic and freedom world. And if we all want that our frontier of freedom and democracy stay and don't lost, we need a weapon, many weapons. And we need a strong support because Russians have North Korean infantry, Islamic drone from Islamic Republic, technology from China's. Ukrainian has a concern, but we need not concern. We need a weapon. That's why I have a dream that everybody asks your senators or your politicians to vote a bill and give Ukrainian a weapon. Because without weapon, unfortunately, we can't win. But we must win for all freedom on the world.
Thank you. Okay, Farzan or Donya, which one is going to take the last question? Oh, wait, it's a tough one, Farzan. See, she knows. We know that one of the challenges that exist is in the United States lately, starting from schools to universities, there is a lot of propaganda that gets taught to children from the young age. A lot of socialists making it look like it's cool without really knowing what is going on in the world or having the understanding of it. And it's just nothing but propaganda, and imagine like a Hollywood type of a scenario. It gets sold to the younger generations, especially the ones that are on TikTok. And it becomes a challenge because you take a look at scenarios that we have looked in the past, like the Free Palestine movement. Tremendous support from all types of life in every city in this nation. And I bet you that if you would have asked most of those people that were attending those rallies and protests, they couldn't even spell Palestine. Yet in Iran, when the Islamic regime killed 40,000 innocent protesters with no gun, there was zero noise, zero protest, and very little to no media coverage. What's the fix for that? Because that's almost like a grooming to be against the West and not liking this nation and burning our flag and supporting Hamas and this and that. And as you saw, there are people supporting Khamenei and the Islamic regime in New York. Go figure. So the Iranians in here are celebrating the death of Khamenei, and you have youngsters that are rioting and protesting in support of the Islamic regime. Yeah. And they've never been to Iran, nor they know anything about the culture or the history. But I told you it's a hard question. What's the fix?
So I studied journalism and very familiar with the propaganda and how it works. I also lived in Iran under the propaganda, so I have first-hand experience with that. How to fix that, it's above my pay grade. But I can give you a hint or two on how to detect propaganda and how to fight them back. At the news, there are 40,000 people being killed, and there is no news, they're not talking about it. There are also many Iranians, sons and daughters and children of the IRGC and Iranians are living in the US. They are university professors, they are doctors, even policymakers. So these were embedded in the US as a community, as a society. Islamic Republic, as Donia mentioned, Khomeini, when he did the revolution, he wanted to export the revolution, and this is how they exported it. They sent their people amongst us, and they started planting this seed and the ideology among young people. Well, I don't want to get into, I only have a little son, so I don't have lots of parenting experience, so I'm not going to lecture you on how to parent, but definitely getting news from TikTok is the worst way of getting news. I highly recommend that we talk a fair amount of voting. So to get ready to vote, I highly recommend that if you're on X or Instagram or any social media or even cable news, watch both sides. Watch CNN, watch Fox News, watch ABC, watch all of them. See how they report one news in a different way. So the only news agency who get to go to Iran was CNN after the massacre. And then they didn't talk to anybody about that. They were just showing that everything is great, everybody is good. And you have to ask yourself, okay, how on all, between all the news agencies and everything, and while the internet is shut down, so their own people don't have access to internet, they can't follow the news, they can't send message, they can't even call us. I can't call my dad. My dad still lives in Iran, I can't call him. So how come only CNN gets to go to Iran and broadcast live from there? So it must benefit Islamic Republic to let them go there. If you go to YouTube today and search like news from North Korea, you see these news pieces that I was actually watching them the other day. This person went to North Korea and was reporting on this awesome ski resort in North Korea. So this is, to me, seeing Islamic Republic growing up them, CNN is basically doing the same thing that the other guy was doing with North Korea and the ski resort. It's just funny to see that with all the things that North Korean government is doing, and they are just showing the awesome ski resort that the people of North Korea obviously can't use. So, and there is a certain narrative that the Islamic Republic implanted in the US community, in the US society, and within the policymakers. So for example, if you see that the Iranian diaspora asking for regime change, and one congresswoman or congressman is talking about, we need to give free internet to the people of Iran. Okay, yeah, free internet is good, but what are you gonna do with a government who kills 40,000 citizens in a week? Free internet? Really? So this is one red flag. If you see they are bolding one news, hey, the Islamic Republic hit the school, or did that, or do that, but there are other news that they are not covering, example being execution of young people, example being hiring as young as 15-year-old as a soldier, and they're not talking about that. This should be a red flag that this person is aligning with the Islamic Republic, is supporting the Islamic Republic, but not talking about the real issue. So if you have a government who employs 15-year-olds and give them guns with the live ammunition to man the post at the street and question people, you should question these. If there's a policymaker, and I'm not talking about this, but talking about other things, this should raise a question for you. So when you go and vote, just read what they said in the past. So this is how you can combat propaganda. this is how you can basically fact-checking other. I know this fact-checking became a sexy word, but definitely you can do that and avoid all this misinformation being broadcasted. And also, talk to Iranians. If you see Iranians on the street, just walk up to them and talk to them. We do have weekly protests, here we do usually do it in Scottsdale. I have my Instagram page, Hesam has its own, Donia has its own. We all post about these events. If you come across one of them, join us, ask us questions. So I know that's a very mouthful and a wordy answer, but I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you.
Can I just add that after the protest, we, if you showed up, we will offer free carpet rides. And he said, like, if you see Iranians on the street, I was like, what would we be doing? Is it ever eating kebab on the street, or is it the...
Not a bad idea.
All right.
Before I start with questions, I'm going to, as I had the pleasure of moderating and having this event, I'm going to ask the crowd, how did you guys like this so far? So on your behalf, I'm going to put the committee of both teams on the spot and ask them to do whatever it takes for us to do another panel like this in a bigger room down the road. And you'll have our support.
Thank you.
Questions? In the back.
My first little comment, I think that we need to be very careful in accusing the European countries for not supporting the war in Iran at this time as a direct result of wanting cheap gas. There's international law, Ukrainians are fighting for rule of law. I have a question. We have a common enemy, the Iranians, the Ukrainians, and that is Russia. The Russian Federation is the one country who has gained the most, from sanction relief to billions of dollars to communicating and operating with China, India, etc. Do you know, could you mention, if so, any initiatives, joint initiatives between the Ukrainian side and the Iranian that are confronting this Russian problem? Because Russia, let's not forget, financed Hezbollah, Hamas, Taliban, and is financing the Ukrainian war. If you are not aware of any joint initiatives, perhaps somebody from the panel would be able to suggest some ideas that we could work on together.
Thank you. I'm not going to answer any of the questions. It's going to be the panel and whoever wants to answer, but I am going to make a correction. The problem is not the Iranians, it's the regime, which is the Islamic regime. So I want to be very clear. Two things that we fight for every day to let people know. Number one, Iran was kidnapped by the Islamic regime 47 years ago. So that's the one. The second, our flag, I remember it was brought up with Farzan. Imagine a flag of Iran that has been the sun and lion, and then a regime takes over the country, and the flag is changed, and I don't want the Iranians to answer this, I'm going to ask the rest of the group. Any of you know what it is in the middle of the new flag that the Islamic regime has used? Anyone? I'll answer. It is an Arabic word. So try to figure that out. Iran, language is Farsi, and a flag gets a upgrade with an Arabic word. That should tell you the challenges that exist. Anyways, so you ask a question in the panel. Who wants to answer that question?
I just want to clarify, you mentioned, is there a joint effort between Ukrainians and Iranians? Are you talking about any joint efforts between Ukrainian diaspora and Iranian diaspora, or the Ukrainian government and the Iranian government? Because I think, okay, First one.
Cooperating together against the regimes, particularly the Russian Federation role in that conflict.
So, a few things. I don't know if you were here at the beginning when I mentioned this is my second collaboration with the Ukrainian team. I was very fortunate. 4 years ago, we did a joint rally, and we have joint speakers during the Mahsa Amini movement. This is the second largest event that we are doing together. Also, the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi met with President Zelensky, and they talked about Iran and the future of Iran. So I think at the political level, this is happening. The Crown Prince, who's being basically people of Iran inside Iran chanted his name, and they want him to return. So, and he is meeting with policymakers and met with the President Zelensky. And then us here, we can work together to have panels, rallies. I would love to have like some sort of artwork, things like that, just to raise awareness.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask everyone to keep the questions and the answers short, because we also have a special presentation that we want to make sure we have time. And if it's after 8 p.m., then you all have to vacuum the floors and do the chairs. And I don't Next question. Sir.
I'm a member of a social group called NAFO, N-A-F-O, the North Atlantic Fellow Organization. It's a little ploy on words of NATO. We raise awareness for Ukraine and fight social propaganda against the Russians online. Are you guys aware of us?
No, but I would like to meet you afterwards.
We are aware of the fact that you're delivering vehicles to Ukraine's front line. You fundraise and deliver vehicles.
Where's your forces?
And we would love to know more. I would love to know more about it afterwards. Next question. Sir in the back.
I want to make a statement. I want to thank the Ukrainians. I'm an American military veteran, Desert Storm, Cold War. My oldest son is currently deployed someplace in the Middle East. Thank you for what you guys do. I'm also thanking you guys for sharing your drone technology as you're training the Americans with the new emerging technology, so thank you.
Sir, what is your name?
Rob Nalby.
Thank you for your service. Next question. Sir.
Yes, thank you for coming. Are you getting any hope, a sense of hope and positive response from these panels that you are conducting across the state, I know, and the country? And then I just also want to say, unless you're a Native American, we're all from immigrants here in this country, mostly European, many also from the Middle East and China. Everywhere in the world is what this country is. So we relate to your struggles. We fought a bloody revolution that established this country over a decade-long bloodbath against an advanced military monarchy that was ruling the world at the time. So we know what it's like to fight for freedom. Right now, we are also in a fight again for our freedom against authoritarianism in this country to maintain our own constitution, our own freedoms. I think one reason we didn't protest, we didn't see big protests against the massacre that was happening in Iran. That was televised, I saw it on TV, is that it happened so fast, that was so horrible. And we are protesting here to save our own country right now. So we feel for you, 100%. And we're all this together to fight this global existential problem of authoritarianism. And it's an ongoing fight. I think that I pray one day we will succeed. So thank you for your
Thank you.
Your courage.
Next question, sir, in the middle.
How can Ukrainian and Iranian diaspora and civil societies build stronger unity despite language, distance, and propaganda barriers?
I guess that will be the question to us, Irene and myself, and other Ukrainians that are here, since we are technically Ukrainian diaspora here. And I do believe that we have still more room for improvement. Most of all, the more of us that fighting for the same cause and divine cause, the more powerful we are. And the thing is, the propaganda for both Iranian regime that supports Iranian regime and Russia, they're using the same methodologies and techniques. The more we amplify, point this out, and actually show the facts, the actual facts that you know about Iran, what is happening, what we as diaspora know what's happening in Ukraine, the more we point out to the truth, the more we win. Together, we are the power.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
This question is directed to our Ukrainian guests, Slava Ukrainian. So there are a lot of organizations that claim to help Ukraine, boxes, medical. I'm aware of unofficial things that send medical supplies to the front line to deal with getting shot and such. But what is the best organization that helps your country? You can't send anything to Iran, so I'm not leaving you out, but what can Jane and Joe, America, do to help Ukraine?
Are you interested in help on the front lines? Because there are multiple layers and multiple organizations helping in different places.
How about one for the front line and one for the people who are impacted, the children who lose their fathers, the women who are fighting? Yeah.
Look, in Ukraine, Ukraine is very rarely army, but sometimes poor. That's why the many organizations help us, and some of these organizations help for medical supplies. Some buys the helmet, armors. Some of this organization help the children. Where we guys founded the charity foundation in Virginia, Spread Children of Ukraine, and we support the orphans of ours falling on the battlefield. That's why I can't tell that, we have one organization and please help only in one organization. No, like every country would help the war more than 12 years. We have very many problems in very many areas and situations. That's why every volunteer organization is very important for Ukraine. And without volunteer support, without American support, I think we lost in 2022. That's why I can say only thank you. Thank you for your support. And it's very important for us. Without your support, we lost.
Thank you. I'm going to end the questions. If there's time afterwards, we can stick around and mingle and ask questions. Although as I'm standing here moderating this group, let me remind you, I've lived here for 37 years now, and I have been an activist. And I just realized one thing that all of you probably know, but for me it was almost like that moment that the bulb went out of my head. There is a big difference with what's going on with Iranians that are sitting here and the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are getting destroyed by the enemy, your neighbor. You can go home and support your people more against Russia. Iranians are being massacred by their own government. It's something that I've known, but never thought of it like that. I don't know how many times in the history there has been a situation that the government has been killing its own people for 47 years. So, with that...
Sorry, sir, you're correct, but for our right to come for our country, in our house, we fought in revolution of dignity, and our chairman of Yanukovych killed our people not 1 year, and we fight against him. We have only sticks. My friend Dennis wounded on the Maidan by policemen. My friend Oleg saved the lives of the guys who have 2 wounds against snipers. This one, yeah, you're all right, and my heart now with all people, all nations who fought against, who suffering under the tyranny, but for our right to come back to our home, we fight, and this fight, for this fight, we pay our blood.
Thank you, I appreciate it. My time is up, and I'm going to ask Renee to come up to stage for a special presentation. And
hello, everyone. This check in the amount of $1,000 is being presented on behalf of the Arizona Iranian community and the Iran Liberty Foundation in honor of Mikola, Dennis, and Oleg, and in support of the children of Ukrainian defenders and orphans.
I was going to take it from
Thank you so much. That's very generous. Thank you. My name is Irene and I'm with Cactus and Tries, a volunteer initiative here in Arizona. We have emerged in 2022 in response to the full-scale invasion. And since then, we have been doing events such as this one, trying to bring attention to the struggle in Ukraine and the fight for Ukrainian independence. These guys are here from Ukraine. They are touring the country with the Voices from Ukraine's Frontline speaking tour. We have a privilege of having them here in Arizona. This is their second to last. We put you guys to work quite a bit. This is their second to last speaking engagement here in Arizona. Tomorrow they go to Prescott. And the reason why we brought them here, because a lot of what we hear about Ukraine is from the headlines and the news, and it's really important to hear from the people themselves. Just like Farzan was saying, you know, if you see a Iranian on the street, just come up to them and ask them direct questions and ask them what you want to know, because they've been there, they've done that, they know the truth, they know what's going on. And these guys have certainly been there, done that, and they've seen it all, and they can really speak to the truth situation. That's, you know, propaganda aside, they can speak to what's really happening in Ukraine, and it's important that we give them the voice. So thank you so much for being here. I prepared a little speech, but I'm just going to go off script. On Friday, we were at a bar. we took these guys to a veteran-owned cidery in Mesa, Cider Core. If you don't know, you should check it out. They have delicious beer and cider. And the owner of the bar, Jason Doran, came up to the guys. He wanted to meet them. He wanted to say hello. He is an ex-Marine, and he was wounded multiple times in Afghanistan. And he said something that really resonated with me. He's a fan of the band called Convictions. It's a kind of a hard Christian rock band, and that's a song that they have is called Sharks. And in that song is a line that's "Stand up for what you believe in." And I believe this is what we're doing between Iranians and Ukrainians. That's what we're doing, is we're standing up for what we believe, and no one knows this more than these guys right here. They're just regular people, they're volunteers. In 2014, they were not fighting officially with the Ukrainian army, they joined the volunteer corps. It's only not until the full-scale invasion that the volunteer corps merged with the army, and they became kind of, you know, fully incorporated with the armed forces of Ukraine. But I don't know if you were as shocked as me when you heard that these guys had to get weapons by killing an enemy. This was news to me, I did not know that. And it just really tells you the hard path that they've come. They've really come a long way. So stand up for what you believe in. To our Ukrainian defenders today, I just want to, on behalf of the Ukrainian community of Arizona, to thank you for your service and your sacrifice. And to our Iranian friends, you guys inspire us so much. We follow you on social media, and we see you on the corner of Scottsdale and Camelback, and you're there every week. Just speak up and stand for what you believe in. And we admire you. We are inspired by you. Keep doing what you're doing. And to everyone here, thank you for showing up and for listening. Just having conversations like this are really important for preserving sovereignty and freedom and dignity and human rights anywhere. Having these conversations strengthens these principles everywhere. Please carry today's conversations forward beyond this room. Thank you. But the guys are going to hang back for a little bit, and they will post some pictures and answer any more questions you may have. I also have, thank you for reminding, I also have a couple of small token gifts for our Iranian friends. One moment. So Farzan and Tanya and Hassam, if you could just please come up here. What I have here are unisex bracelets that are made of metal that came from a Russian tank that was recycled in Ukraine. And we had them custom inscribed with words, "Ukraine strong." And whenever you find yourself in a moment of weakness or a moment of doubt, just turn to this, and hopefully this will bring you strength that you need to keep going. party and sharing food. So anytime, let us know. Thank you, everyone. Welcome here this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh gosh, my arm. Are you part of Iranians? But I would like to.